What's going on, people? Welcome back. I'm Old Spy, and we are continuing on with the Dark Souls Remastered walkthrough. Now, you might be wondering why we're sitting here at Firelink Shrine when we were supposed to be in Darkroot Basin. And that reason is sitting right here. So I really kind of forgot to touch on Nightlaw Trek here. And when we came back through in the last episode, towards the beginning of the last episode, he was not here for whatever reason. I've never seen that. Typically when you free him from his cell, which we did in, I believe, episode 3, he comes back and he relocates here for a while. But where we're about to go and what we're about to do will cause him to move. And so I need to talk about what he does and what you can get from him before we go through this episode. So, for my particular playthrough, I love that armor, I want that armor, and I'm going to get that armor. To do so, you have to progress through his storyline. His storyline does involve this Firekeeper, and a little bit of a spoiler here. I know I try to be spoiler free, but I'm going to spoil this particular storyline with the NPC. When he completes his, or as he goes through his storyline, he will kill the Firekeeper, which will deactivate Firelink Shrine for a while. So do be warned, if you decide to go through his storyline and follow through with me, you're going to be deactivating Firelink Shrine for a little bit. Now, the way I progress, it's not going to affect us that much, but it is a thing. If you don't care about that armor and it's no big deal to you, what you can do is give him a couple of these right up close, and I think it's 2 of them. You'll kick him off that ledge. It's the easiest way to acquire this. Then you quit the game and reload it, and you will get his ring, the Ring of Favor and Protection, which is probably the best ring in the game. It boosts your, I believe it boosts your HP, stamina, and equip burden. So that's the thing to note. When you relocate him here, if you don't want his armor, I'd recommend kicking him off the edge. 2 kicks will send him over the edge. Quit the game, reload it, and you'll get his ring. Very useful. If you just talk to him, he will reward you with a sunlight medal as well. So I did want to point that out. We're going to continue with his storyline as we go, which is going to progress after we do this next area. So from there, we're going to head back down to Darkroot Basin. I just wanted to talk about that before things got a little bit complicated, and we would have missed out on some information that things wouldn't have made sense later on. So either way, I'm going to stop rambling about that, and we're going to continue on with the walkthrough. All right, heading back through the parish. And now normally this run back, excuse me, to the basin wouldn't be a thing for you guys because you'll still be down there. But yeah. All right. One of the things too, I am playing offline, obviously, because we are doing a walkthrough. Playing online would be kind of a pain if we were getting invaded and stuff like that, so we are offline. One thing to note, that walking around in the state that I've been in the non-hollow form, with that much humanity, is kind of risky if you're playing online. So keep that in mind. But you can always disable the online function and just enjoy the game by yourself, which is what we're doing. almost back to where we need to be. I did also switch some rings here. We did have the blue tear stone ring on for a while, then we went to the evil eye, and I'm gonna try out the wolf ring with the sword and shield that we're using. We'll see how that goes. But alright, we are back at the bonfire that we ended at. So this is where we ended last episode. And now we're going to continue on into this part. Elevator, you got to pull the handle. Just right next to it. Fashion switch, we're looking pretty good with the complete set of the Elite Knight armor. Looking nice, filling that role. Alright, so when we come out here, we're going to come out in the Valley of the Drakes. There is an item on that bridge, which is an armor set. It's one of the starting armor sets. There's also another item. There's a ladder over there that we can't see that you can climb up and get. It's the red tearstone ring, which is the opposite of the blue tearstone ring in that it increases your attack instead of your defense when your hit points are low. And then we have these guys, which you can see we're not doing really that much damage to. So with our plus 10 weapons, we're not doing a whole lot of damage. And if they hit us, they're going to do quite a bit of damage. So whether or not you want to fight these guys is up to you. I'm simply fighting this guy just to demonstrate. They do go crazy. You got to watch out for that. Definitely got to watch out for the lightning attack. And they do tend to suicide, which is nice. So it's 1,000 souls a kill, which can be useful. But I tend to really not mess with them that much. Got another one around the corner, so be very careful. Especially if he's going to do that. Take that opportunity to run by him. If you're fast enough, you can slide in here, grab the humanity, and then get on out of the way. So follow the path up this way. Heading right up here. And there's going to be a specific order here that we want to pick up these items. So we can pick this one up and nothing happens. But when you go to grab these, this undead dragon is going to come to life. So we're going to lighten our load a little bit here. Pick up the sword, pick up the shield, get hit, and get killed. I did it the wrong way. I actually just wanted to get the shield. No big deal. We'll just run back. Even if you get killed there, it's not that big of a deal. Totally messed up my notes there. And I wanted to pick up the right one first to grab the shield. Which... we got the Dragon Crest shield. And we are going to pick that up. And we are going to use it. So we're going to equip that. We'll throw our gear back on now. I keep getting hit with these kind of stupid deaths, but such is the name of the game here when you're playing Souls games. But the shield is going to be very useful for the next boss that we fight. So it is good to come this way to grab the shield. I'd recommend grabbing the shield first. Now the sword we can't even use because there's a faith requirement on it. So if you do have a faith build, it is a pretty good sword to use early on. Its usefulness does tend to wear off a little bit. Alright, we're going to see if we can do this. This might be a terrible idea. There we go. Still that blue tear stone back on. So now you can see he's active and ready to go. So we're going to have to make sure we get in and out of there really quick. That's actually the attack that we want. Run right on by. We're in the clear. So, no big deal. And we're right back to where we want to be. Okay, so if you remember in the very first episode, this is an area that you can access early on if you have the master key. You can just come down this way. If you don't feel like messing with the Valley of the Drakes and it's time to move into this area, you can do it from, you head down the elevator that's underneath Firelink Shrine, come down through the New Londo ruins, and then you head into here. Now, this is the way that and let me get past these guys. When we defeated the Gaping Dragon, we got the key to Blighttown, and I never used that route to get into Blighttown and to navigate Blighttown unless I want to pick up either of the two specific items, the two good items that are over there. One is a katana weapon, and the other one is a pyromancy. We will be using neither of them, so I will not go that way. But be warned, if you do go that way, you need blooming moss clumps and a lot of patience. It's one of the harder stretches, in my opinion, in the game. It's one of the more frustrating stretches, I'll say that. And that's the reason why, because you get toxic status put on you very, very easy over there. So we're gonna and I should have done that before we even started this, but the death kind of threw me off. Watch out for those guys. You want to drop down here onto these platforms as it goes by, and then we're gonna do another drop or step off right here. And that's that. Let's see if we can. Yeah, I'll walk out once we get to the bottom here. Yeah, so there's the point where you drop off right there. You can either do it the one above or the one right there. That is an NPC invasion, and what I like to do is tuck in right here. You can see we got a bonfire, and this is where we're gonna fight her. Pretty simple. Keep your shield up, circle around, get those backstabs. Free humanity plus the butcher knife is a pretty cool weapon. It replenishes HP. Yeah, we'll take a look at it. Does it actually say that? Either way, it replenishes HP for every kill that you get, so it's works well with the Ring of the Evil Eye. If you want to put together a build with some HP regen, that's a pretty good way to go using that weapon. Alright, so now that we're here, I want to explain how I handle this area. I'm not a poison swamp guy. I don't like messing around in the poison swamp. So typically whenever I'm faced with a poison swamp, even though we see lots of little items off in the distance, we saw some when we came down, I tend to not like to mess with them. I hate restricted movement like this. I hate having to deal with being poisoned and worrying about your hit points chipping away. So when I'm faced with these types of areas, I typically, and if you have seen my Demon Souls playthrough, I typically get through them as quick as possible and save any exploration for once the main objective is completed. And that's how we're going to handle it here. I will show you a few other things in this particular area. I'm not going to show you everything. I'm not going to run around and pick up every single item, but there is a few things to note down here. There are some useful spots. So we'll get to those after we take out the boss. Oh, one other thing that I've totally forgot because I typically don't even mess with it. But if you throw on the rusted iron ring that works in the water, it also works in the swamp, which can help you move around without getting poisoned so much. And you do want to watch out for those guys because they hit pretty hard. We're going to put that back on. We're going to use another moss clump. Top off the old HP, and we're ready for a boss fight. Now again, feel free to explore all you want and go all around. But I like to do this. This is my way that I tackle this particular area. So as we head down here, we have an NPC summon, and we're going to take full advantage of that. We're going to call in the NPC that we just killed, Maneater Mildred. Alright, boss time. Alright, so one of the coolest and most memorable bosses in the Souls series right here. You want to circle around, stay out in front. See, we're doing pretty good damage. Be mindful of the lava pools. You can see Mildred back there has no programmed way to deal with those lava pools, so she just tries to slam through it till it disappears. They will disappear after a little while. We're just gonna keep circling. Now, one thing you want to do is when you're in close and you're fighting, you want to keep an eye on. You want to keep an eye on the human body because of that right there, as I was saying it. When she dips her head down, woo, when she dips her head down and like lays forward on the spider, they're gonna do an AoE attack, which is, as you just witnessed, super devastating. So that's really what you want to be mindful of when you're back here hacking away and you think you're safe. kind of in a bad spot now because he's sitting right on a lava pool. And there's that attack, so that's a good look at it. She lays forward, and that's the key to realize that you got to get out of dodge. You can see she's doing pretty darn good damage. So the summons do make these bosses quite a bit easier. And I've said it before. I did honestly think about doing 2 separate recordings and editing in me fighting the boss without any NPC summons where they're available, but I really just don't have the time for that. So you can choose, you can use them, you can use the summons or not if you want to. There's no shame in using them if it helps you progress through the game. And then the next time you come back through, you'll be aware of what you need to do to fight it. Either way. Another thing that I do want to point out, if you are having any trouble getting through any areas, if you're following this walkthrough like to a T, we are playing with a high equipment burden. And I demonstrated this earlier, just kind of want to touch on it again. But, you know, if you drop some of your armor or put on some lighter armor and mix and match a little bit, it's going to make the game easier. So with the higher equipment burden and we're not doing like a significant amount of damage, it does make the game a little bit more difficult. Hidden wall here, you come through, just answer yes, then he's gonna go through. Alright, you can enter a covenant here, but the real reason I'm showing you that is I would recommend resting here, because later on then you can come out here very quickly. So make sure you rest at that bonfire and you'll be able to zip back to this area without having to go through all of the stuff that we just went through. And so if you come out this way, this is the way that we're gonna progress a little bit later on in the game. So we'll light that bonfire, we can rest there, but we're gonna head back in. And before we wrap up this episode, I will head through a little bit of the base of Blighttown here, because there is something that is going to be pretty useful for us. So we are running back. Ooh, also, I would recommend not attacking these guys. Just leave them alone. Because once you attack them, they explode with these into these kind of maggot type grub type maggot type things. I don't know what they are. Worms. with some jaws that flop around, and they're quite annoying. So I would just recommend leaving those guys alone. Okay, so now we're back out by the bonfire, and this is the area where I was kind of talking about that there is some stuff in the swamp out here. So we're gonna head this way. If you have a bow and arrow, which you could pick up quite a while ago, I would recommend having it ready to go for those mosquito enemies. Slide back around here, and you get pretty much the pyromancer set. And while we're down here poking around, we're going to go ahead and throw that on because it has huge amounts of poison resistance as we're getting smashed by those. Okay. Now, these guys down here are a great source, another great source, an even better source for large titanite shards and green titanite shards. And I'm going to show you basically the jackpot area, or the mother lode, where you can come down here and farm out your large or green titanite shards, whatever you need, pretty effectively. So you can see our poison bar grew substantially by putting this particular set on. So our armor is keeping us from getting poisoned immediately. We want to aggro these guys and draw them over to the land so that we don't get poisoned. And of course, they're not dropping anything. And once you kill them, make sure you check, because sometimes it's really hard to see whether they've dropped an item or not. But you can see back in this corner here, there's quite a few of them. So this is the place that you want to run to. Make sure you got some purple moss clumps. And make sure you got your pyromancer set here, your tattered armor. And you can farm away, which is very useful if you want to upgrade various weapons and use a variety of weapons in your playthrough. There we go. You get a couple. If you come back here after we get the gold covetous serpent ring, it's a much better run. I think base, these guys are at like supposed to be at like a 25%. That might even be high, but maybe it's 5%, something like that. All right, let's see. We didn't rest, so we're not going to use a homeward bone. Go ahead and get this guy while we're here. And honestly, in my opinion, the real reason to come down here is if you want the green titanite shards for a divine or a fire weapon. Because I'm going to show you very, very shortly a really good run for both regular Titanite shards and large Titanite shards. You don't have to deal with any poison or any restricted mobility or anything like that. So I'm going to show you a little bit better place for that, but if you want to come down here and get some green, if you want to make a fire weapon or a divine weapon, this is the place to come for sure. All right. Since we made it out of there, I wouldn't recommend kindling, but if you come down here and you're having some trouble with the boss or just the landscape in general, or you want to stick around and do some grinding and whatnot, I would recommend kindling the bonfire, but we're not gonna. We are gonna pop our soul items and then level up. Soul of... Wait a minute. Okay, yeah, I already used that. So, Soul of Quelaag. Or Quelaag. However you want to say it. Boom. Not bad. We're going to keep on going. Alright, so we're almost at 30 and 30, which is nice. And then once we get there, we're going to switch back to our strength and dex, which will be about perfect timing. And then we can start switching up and putting some new weapons into play. Before we get out of here, let's take a look at how we're looking on our equipment burden. Not bad. We're getting close, so a couple more levels and we should be getting into some pretty good rolls with our armor. But either way, that's going to do it for this episode. We're going to head out of Blighttown and towards Sen's Fortress on the next episode, so I will see you then.